Hope. What is hope? Is hope wishful thinking? Is it a psychological band-aid or an emotional placebo to help us cope with a difficult situation or a challenging life? Hope is so much more. Hope sees the invisible. It feels the intangible and achieves the impossible. Hope is the singular vital ingredient for all human triumph and survival. Hope is goal glue. Mankind has survived because of hope. With hope, we can cope. And hope is defined as a feeling of positive expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. Hope is a polar opposite of dejection, depression, despair, and hopelessness. As we learn to tap into the enlightening power of hope, we will see talk turn tangible. Here's a quote. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Emily Dickinson. In positive theology, Dr. Barbara L. Fredrickson states that hope comes into its own when crisis looms, opening us to new creative possibilities. See, biblically, hope is defined, and I looked all these up, as expectancy. Hope is waiting patiently with confidence. Hope is called a place or refuge of safety. Hope is described as fatness or having excess. Hope is labeled as binding together two objects like rope made strong by the twisting together of multiple strands. Hope is said to give us strong loins, or we could call it guts or grit or growing a set. We also have the hope that we will absolutely someday be gathered together forever to be with the Lord. Hope is the anchor of our soul. So the big three, and these came in a great tandem, are faith, love, and hope. And these three words, faith, hope, and love, are intimately and timelessly bound together three times. And they're the trifecta of teamwork. They're the triple crown of collaboration. The Greek words pistis, agape, and elpis are three inseparable friends. Pistis, faith or belief. It's a conviction based on what we hear, not what we see. That's pistis. And agape, to the Greeks, means it's love fulfilled. It's love in its fullest conceivable form. It's the full force of love. And elpis, it means hope, and it's always translated a confident expectation. You just confidently expect it to happen. It's no maybes. And we're going to read three verses in the order they're written, and watch how the wording changes. And these are written by Paul to the early church, maybe 12 years after the day of Pentecost. Really, these are the first things that he communicated, or God communicated through him to the believers. So 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, we're going to read 2 through 5. I'm going to read it from the Message. Every time we think of you, we thank God for you. Day and night you're in our prayers as we call to mind your work of faith, your labor of love, and your patience of hope in following our Master, Jesus Christ, before God our Father. And it's clear to us, friends, that God not only loves you very much, but He's also put His hand on you for something special. When the message we preach came to you, it wasn't just words. Something happened in you. The Holy Spirit put steel in your convictions. And that was about 52 to 53 AD. See, faith, love, and lastly, hope were described in there. And this was the very first time Paul communicated this three-tiered concept to the early Christians in writing. They needed something to hang on to at that time. Something to follow. Because it's hard to keep doing something if you don't see results. And so he's trying to teach them how to get results. And we're going to see here how hope is just totally tied to any goal setting. And so without hope, there really is no goal, no goals. And we're going to watch how Paul again pairs these three. This is just a few months after that first letter. And he does it in a different context. And actually, this is the same letter. So this was at the same time. I was thinking it was 2 Thessalonians, but it's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. See, hope is the final point both times in 1 Thessalonians. So we're going to read chapter 5, verse 6 and 8, through 6 through 8. I'm going to read it from the Phillips. Let us never fall into the sleep that stupefies the rest of the world. Let us keep awake with our wits about us. Night is the time for sleep, and the time when men get drunk. But we, men of the daylight, should be alert with faith and love as our breastplate and the hope of our salvation as our helmet. Now, Paul knows them a little bit better, and he tweaks the context a little bit in this part of this book. And this time, faith and love are galvanized, and they're molded into a perfectly shaped and well-fitting armor to protect our hearts. Remember, it said faith and love are our breastplate. And he was just reminding them of something they all knew about the Roman soldier. You know, they all saw them walk around and be in their full military gear. And then hope is something we put in, we put in to protect our heads as well, our brains. That's what that helmet stands for. Hope is our salvation, is salvation as our helmet. So hope is something to keep your head together. It keeps you going when you feel like stopping. You see, it keeps our brains from getting beat out by the constant barrages of this world. And you all know what I'm talking about. Like 1 Corinthians 13:13 from the Message, here's the final one where those three are paired together. But for right now, until that completeness, we have three things to do to lead us toward that consummation. Trust steadily in God, hope unswervingly, love extravagantly, and the best of the three is love. So Corinthians was written, it was written a few years after Thessalonians, about 57 AD. And that was right when this final time, it was written during a time where the believers were beginning to lose faith. They were beginning to lose hope, and they were beginning to hate on each other. You don't think, that never happened in Acts. Well, yes, it did. This is when it started to be the decline of the early Christian church. And that's when he set these gems in Corinthians 13. I mean, love is like a diamond that's set on an engagement ring that's built from hope and believing. And so love ultimately, if you could boil the whole Bible down and bleed everything else off, it's going to be love. And so love in all its glory, love in its fullest conceivable form, the fullness of love should be held up for all to see by its brother and sister, which is believing and hope. And a belief is that confident expectation. And so hope is not to hope so. Hope is to know so. Not to hope so. It's to know so. Now, we're not talking about wishful thinking when we talk about hope. Like, I really hope I get that job. You don't hope you get that. That's wishful thinking. And you're using the word hope to cover insecurities. If you hope you're going to get a job, you're going to get that job. It's so clear in our minds. Hope is the galvanizing force that motivates us to keep believing, to keep pushing, to keep trying, to keep going, to keep living, no matter how bad things seem to get. Hope is light at the end of that dark tunnel. Hope propels us forward. Hope eliminates fear. Everything that's ever been accomplished and has been accomplished, it's because of hope. Hope is the vital ingredient to all goal setting. Hope is the glue that binds dreams to our goals. If you can see a new beginning, you have hope. If you can visualize a better life or a better way of doing it, you have hope. When hope is lost, we're lost. When hope is found, we abound. Sometimes hope is all we have. Quote, hope is patience with the lamp lit. Tertullian. You know, hope is a waking dream. Aristotle. Hope is the last thing ever lost. An ancient Italian proverb. When hope is gone, it's gone. You know, hope is not just waiting out our life until Christ comes back. Hope is an aggressive, forward-thinking, ever-positive trait that we can master. Hope directs our belief system. Hope sets the mind straight. Hope is the reset button of our soul. Hope helps us hang on so we can buckle down and enjoy the journey. Hope is the anchor of our soul. The concept of hope being the anchor of our soul should get us to lean forward and listen. Because in that same verse that we're going to read in a minute, it says that hope takes us behind the curtain where God becomes more tangible to us. And let's see how this might help us in setting our goals, or it might help us in getting the deliverance that we've been looking for. You fill in the blank. Hebrews 6:19 from the NLT. This hope is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. It leads us through the curtain into God's inner sanctuary. See, hope leads us boldly behind that separating curtain and into the arms of a God who loves us. Hope allows us to see the unseen that is ours to see. Hope is called the anchor of our soul. What does that mean? What do anchors do? You know, what was Paul, God by way of Paul trying to communicate to the early Christians and to us? Now, I got to remember, everybody in that era lived near water. Everybody lived near water. And so everybody understood the two basic things that an anchor does. Now, we all know that an anchor is designed to hold a ship in place. An anchor is dropped from the boat and it digs into the seabed and it keeps that vessel from drifting due to wind or current. If you've ever been on a lake and you didn't drop an anchor, you may be miles away. You know, if the wind's blowing or the current's moving. A second usage of anchor, everybody knew this, but it's not common unless you're accustomed to sailing. And it's a nautical technique called kedging. Kedging. Kedging, it was used to free a boat that's stuck on a sandbar or a shoal. And the anchor is on a small craft, it's thrown out a number of feet out behind that boat, or on a larger craft, you'd row a dinghy out with your anchor and you drop it a few hundred feet away. And then it goes and it digs into the bottom, and then you winch that anchor line and it pulls you off like you might pull a car by a tow rope off of that's stuck in the snow. So that's kedging. So kedging gets you, breaks you free from whatever's stopping you from moving. Now, during the War of 1812, there was a daring escape of one of our warships called the USS Constitution that was being surrounded and getting chased by a British squadron. The sun had just come up and they were looking out and they saw these ships that were gaining on them. And then all of a sudden the wind stopped. The wind stopped and all the sails just fell limp, and now they're sitting ducks. Now the British, they can't move either. And they're out of range at that point. And this brilliant use of kedging to move a ship forward was regarded as a monumental event early in that war. And up until that time, the British owned the ocean. And Captain Isaac Hull resorted to every trick in the book to keep his ship out of enemy hands. And his ship was being chased by 5 heavily armed British warships, and they were gaining on him until the wind stopped and the sails fell still. And Captain Hull was inspired to have his men row a small boat carrying an anchor a few hundred feet forward in the shallow New Jersey waters, and he dropped the anchor. And while others on board the ship feverishly turned the capstans, winching the ship that few hundred feet forward, and they did this for 70 hours. And the men would take turns sleeping on deck or in the dinghy, and they just did it. They had to keep pulling themselves 400 feet forward, 400 feet forward, 400 feet forward. And so and the English weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there. And so then when the wind when they realized that they were kedging, they started trying to kedge and move their boats forward. But they were heavier ships. And then all of a sudden the wind picked up, the sails popped, taut, and then they were free and they escaped. And so they were saved because of this thing called kedging, using an anchor. And so I was thinking about Romans 8:24 and 25, and from the Voice it says, "We were saved by this hope. But in our moments of impatience, let us remember that hope always means waiting for something we haven't yet got. But if we hope for something we cannot see, then we must settle down and wait for it in patience." Hope is seeing something so clearly, you just don't have it yet. Isn't that every goal? Want to lose weight, want to get in shape, want more money, want more time, want, whatever it is. Want to get healthier? It's all something you want that you don't have. That's hope. See how hope is tied into every goal? Hope is huge. Humans would still be living in a big clump somewhere. Ancient man, they would have never adventured if it wasn't for hope. Looking for a new land, more animals, something. They wanted more than they had. Woman. That's probably what most of them went looking for or was getting away from. No, I'm just kidding. Settle down and wait for it. Don't wish. No. Be patient. Keep believing. Keep your hopes up. Hope keeps us from drifting, and hope helps us escape. Hope sets us free. That's that anchor that I'm talking about. Ephesians 4:14 says, "So we're no longer children, spiritually immature, tossed back and forth like ships on a stormy sea, and carried about by every wind of shifting doctrine, by the cunning and trickery of unscrupulous men, by the deceitful scheming of people who are ready to do anything for personal profit." That's what we're up against every day, folks. People want to profit at our expense until we start, trying to defeat ourselves through wrong thinking. You see, hope holds our minds in place long enough for us to reach our life goals. Hope is the anchor of our soul. Now, the psychology of hope. Now, any counselor, minister, holy man, teacher, friend, or parent knows the absolute raw, invigorating, life-extending power of hope. Nothing on earth triggers more positive outcomes than hope. Hope is more powerful than any drug. Talk to doctors in a cancer ward. Hope has founded countries, started businesses, and healed more sick than anything. Hope keeps that childish gleam in our eye. Never lose hope. Never, ever lose hope. Quote, "Sometimes hope looks so bleak in a given situation as to appear non-existent, yet so vital for survival, that virtually everyone who survives a life-threatening ordeal that on the surface seems impossible will point to hope as the one thing that got them through. It's the very hope which champions the survivor, even in the bleakest of times. Hope is often the only thing between man and the abyss. Dale Archer, MD. It's the only thing between man and the abyss. It's the only thing between us and reaching our goal. Do you believe in hope? We got to get rid of the wimpy version of hope that's in our mind. This is the most effective and powerful tool that we have in our arsenal. It's one of the three biggies: believing, hope, love. Romans 15:4 from Phillips says, "For all those words which were written long ago are meant to teach us today. For when we read in the scriptures of the endurance of men and of all the help that God gave them in those days, we may be encouraged to go on hoping in our own time." We can go on hoping. If they can do it, we can do it. You ever said that to yourself? That's hope. That's hope. Nothing on earth triggers more positive outcomes than a healthy dose of hope. It is the most effective drug. Hope is also a warrior mindset. Hope is the foundation of all goal setting. Hope accelerates our healing process, just like it will heal the path to any of our goals. Quote, "Just as a man cannot live without dreams, he cannot live without hope. If dreams reflect the past, hope summons the future." Elie Wiesel. You know, my office is going for a holistic approach to goal setting this year. So I've spent the past 2 months working on and honing my 20-year goals. And then I break these down into yearly goals, and I break them down into monthly goals, and I break them down into daily goals, and now I'm working on putting them into hourly goals and just plugging it right into my calendar. And I will hold myself accountable to this calendar, and my office will hold me accountable to my calendar. And that's how we're going to help each other reach our goals this year. And but I plan in and I incorporate in here, and this was suggested, is put in family time into your business plan. Put in exercise time. You know, put in your vacation time. Put in your recreation time. Because if you're not happy, it's just not going to last. You won't be able to keep it up. Each year, the top 5 goals in America are to lose weight, get in shape, make more money, get organized, and do something exciting. Does that sound familiar? In fact, those are my top 5, personal ones. I thought, oh man, I'm right in there with the pack. Team USA. And they're almost always in that order. Lose weight, get in shape, make more money, get organized, and do something exciting. And, but when I say it like that, we, the people of the United States, sound a little bit selfish, a little bit narcissistic. See, a modern social media term calls it YDY, or you do you, which means do what you need to for you. Or as you used to say, take care of me. Me, myself, and I. Sadly, those 5 American basics are all things that I want as well. Lose weight, get in shape, get organized, get more money, and do something exciting. And so I thought, because I like those things, I want those things, why don't I tie those to some goal that's bigger and not self-serving? And this is the warrior mindset. Because those kind of goals, most people, the fact that we write them down every year, the same ones, means we're not reaching them. Why aren't we reaching them? Because we haven't really set them to something bigger. And this is where the hope comes in. So I started binding all these selfish goals to its altruistic cousin, or to an altruistic connection. Like, I want to lose weight and get in shape so that for years to come, I'm going to have the energy and vitality to potentially help every person with whom I come in contact. Which is why I want to live a long time so I can help a lot of people. That's why I want to be in shape. You see? I want to get organized and make more money so I can help my family, so I can help others, and so that I'll never be a burden on my children or society. See, so I just flipped it to something bigger than me. Those are all 5 of them rolled into those 2 statements there. I want to do something new and exciting this year so I can stay refreshed and have more incidents to communicate in my teachings. But everything we do should be something that should benefit mankind, humankind. Sometimes we have to take care of ourselves so that we can. Sometimes I go for a run just because I can't think anymore. My head's spinning so fast. You might go to the gym. You might read a book. You might watch a TV show or listen to a certain favorite musician. Who cares? That's what that's talking about. Quote, you can get everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar. It's all truistic. This is not a new thought process. The goals and vows of medieval knights as well as the Japanese samurai were never self-centered. In fact, the greatest goals of the greatest people are never for them. It's always somehow to help mankind. Why don't we make our goals like that? Why don't we have our hope? That could be our hope. The thoughts in mind. What we want. They're always altruistic, always selfless, and they're always noble. Something called the Code of Chivalry was a lifestyle for those who lived to serve, of which every Christian is designed to do. And this was a lifestyle for the knights who determined to utilize all their strength, all their discipline, and training to protect the defenseless, to be loyal to their country, to be generous, honest, and to defend each other. The knights of the Middle Ages were eager to attack any enemy head on, and they vowed to never turn their back on an enemy. And in a minute, you're going to see how Paul says these same things to us, to the early Christians. They vowed to go into battle to defend their Christian faith. They would reaffirm these vows and personalize them during a ceremony during the winter called the Vow of the Peacock. And this is where they publicly spoke out loud their goals, and then they plucked one of those big tail feathers from a peacock, one that was deceased, and they would keep that tail feather all that year to remind them of their commitment that they had just spoken out loud. And it's interesting to note that halfway around the world at that same time, during the Knights of Europe, the Japanese had a similar code called the Samurai, or the Bushido Code, or the Way of the Warrior. And sometimes they called it the Samurai Code of Chivalry. And remember that all goals are kept because of our unwavering hope. It's hope that kept those knights on track. It's hope that kept those samurai, faithful to their lords and masters and to their people of that time who they served. The Samurai Warrior Code was a set of goals, just like the knights. It was a lifestyle. If our goals become a lifestyle, then we will reach them. Doesn't that make sense? A lifestyle of working out, a lifestyle of eating right, a lifestyle of staying organized, of adventure. It permeated every fiber of who they were and how they acted. It permeated what they talked about. Duty, courage, love, respect, truthfulness, honor, and loyalty were at the top of the list of the Bushido Code. Did you notice that none of the goals that the knights have and the samurai were self-centered. There's none of them. There isn't one that pertains to them. Not a single one. They were all for the protection and service of and for others. Now here's a few goals that Paul laid out for the early church that seem amazingly similar to, yet a precursor to, every single code of chivalry that's on the books. And these are our peacock vows. This is our Bushido code. And 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, we're going to read 14 and 15. Now just think, Paul laid this out. This is one of the first things that any Christian ever read. One of the very first things. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn them that are unruly, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men. See that we render evil for evil unto that we don't render evil for evil unto any man, but ever follow that which is good, both among ourselves and to all men. And this is written about 52, 53 AD. Paul was just getting cranking here. Christianity was on the rise. It was skyrocketing because they held true to these 6 virtues, so to speak. It was the first epistle written to the Christians by Paul. And the goals in these verses redirect a selfish life. Everybody's selfish. We have to train ourselves to not be. Lose weight, get in shape, get organized, whatever the other ones were. I mean, that's what everybody will make more money and have an adventure. Do something exciting. And we're going to see, this is Godly Goal Setting 101. This is where it starts. Every one of our goals, we should be able to wrap into one of these 6 things that I'm about to read. These preempt selfishness. These words were carefully chosen to promote hope. One, and I'll read it in our common language, is stand up to those who oppose you. It's not easy to do because we don't want to offend anybody with our Christian values. 2, encourage the faint-hearted or those who are losing ground or those who have lost hope. Encourage them. Number 3, protect those who are sick or who have less strength than we do. Protect the sick. Protect the unhealthy. Number 4, be patient with everyone, Christian or non. That's even harder to do. Number 5, stop believers from harming anyone. And a believer is more than the people that are in this room or that are listening on the tape. There's a lot of believers out there, and if they're doing something wrong, it's our job to do number 1, stand up to them. This is the Christian Bushido code. This is our peacock vow. And the last one, number 6, pursue only that which is good and beneficial for you as well as for all society. Everything we should do would be to promote good, to help us help other people. So those are the 6. See, hope is the foundation of all goal setting. Hope accelerates our healing process, just like it'll heal the path to any goal. Now we're going to talk about hope and goal setting. And this is the practical side of this teaching here. Not that the rest hasn't been. But we've been inundated with pithy acronyms to help us set and achieve our goals. We have the SMART, the SMART goal system. And we have the DUMB, the dumb goal system. And both of them are good. You can look them up online. I'll give you a rough synopsis here. Now, I don't have time to do a goal-setting seminar. It's taken me 2 months to do my 20-year goal plan. And I work on it every day, just for a few minutes. And I just keep plugging away until I just keep honing it down into where it's something that I can do. So, but the SMART, the SMART goals, will absolutely work for you, if They're going to absolutely work for you if you can discipline yourself to actually write them down and then follow it up with stick-to-itiveness. If you can just stick to the plan. You make a plan, stick to your plan. Everybody knows that, but very few. That's why lose weight, get in shape, make more money, whatever. That's why they're always on the list, because we just keep, we don't get organized. We don't make we don't even schedule in adventures anymore. Whereas you were a kid, that's all you wanted to do. That's why kids are happy. Think about it. So SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T goals are S, specific, M, measurable, A, achievable, R, realistic, and T, time-bound. You can look this up online. You can get forms and all that kind of stuff. SMART goals are safe, time-tested, and they will incrementally get things done. If you do this, you will reach your goal if you stick with your plan. And because it has to be measurable, it has to be achievable. So it's not really a big goal. It's like losing weight, getting in shape, getting organized, making more money, and doing some adventure. Those are things you can schedule in, right? Those are SMART goals. These are the things that make people achieve, get somewhere, okay? They're not outlandish. They're time-bound, they're specific, they're measurable. You see, and you stick to your SMART goals, and you're absolutely going to achieve what you wrote down. You will not fail. It will happen. It will happen. It works like clockwork. And these have been around since the 80s, this little acronym, but it's well done and well documented, and every business coach talks about this. We also have dumb goals, D-U-M-B. Dumb goals are those dangerously unattainable, monstrously big goals. Dumb goals are the goals which we set that are so big, so amazing, so titillating, so grandiose that we're guaranteed to fail a time or two before we reach them. Dumb goals make our friends whisper behind our backs, and our families think that we've lost our minds. Those are dumb goals. They're for dreamers, these dumb goals. They're for innovators. They're for would-be world changers. And these dumb goals push us to push ourselves even harder than the SMART goals. Dumb goals are not for the faint of heart. Now, I would say to reach most of our goals, my money's on the SMART goals. But if you really want to change things, you got to think bigger. Things that are unattainable. And if you think, I want to get there, and if you only make it halfway, then you're halfway further than you were, right? These are world-changing goals. Nothing wrong with them either. You see, any and every goal system is laced with hope. I want to fill in the blank. The biggest thing you could possibly imagine. Remember, God designed hope to be our anchor. It's our stable focus as well as our kedging anchor to help pull us free when we get stuck. And we all get stuck. We all get stuck sometimes. We find ourselves on the sandbar of life. Oh, what am I going to do now? Or we're getting chased by the enemy. What do we do? And we're just sitting ducks. Anchor, kedge. See, the hope mindset is for those people who want to discover not a new world, not how to earn more money or lose some weight. The hope mindset is for those of us that believe our life has a purpose. And I'm going to describe this. And this is another acronym that I just made up, like you need one more. And it's HOPE. It's H for honorable, O for optimistic, P for passionate, and E for enjoyable. And I figured those are the things that have to be mixed into my goal setting. If it's not honorable, why am I doing it? If I'm not optimistic, I'm never going to see it. Passionate. If we're not passionate about reaching our goal, we're not going to keep it. And it must be enjoyable. Got to keep it enjoyable. If you don't enjoy it, why is it your goal? That means it's somebody else's goal. So let's break it down. H, that hope, reminds us to make sure each goal is honorable and in some ways going to help others. The O in hope prompts us to be ever optimistic. That's a positive mindset, isn't it? The P in hope stimulates us to maintain the passion for our project. Stay passionate. And the E in hope inspires us to enjoy our journey. Because if we don't, what's the point? Might as well sit on your lazy boy and watch TV until you stick to that chair and die. You know, what's the point? Make your goals enjoyable. The greatest goals on earth are never selfish. Moses donated his life to saving God's people. John the Baptist gave his entire childhood and life to promote his cousin Jesus. Jesus laid down his life for all of us, and he's still working feverishly so that we can reach the goals that we want. Christopher Columbus, Magellan, the Mayflower, the Corps of Discovery with Lewis and Clark, landing a man on the moon, putting another rover on Mars. A mission to Mars is in the plans. The greatest achievements were for the advancement of humankind. You wouldn't have the computers right now if it wasn't for the space program, and all of you like your smartphones. I see you bent over tapping on them all the time. LOL. And other acronyms. So, goals are seldom, great goals are never selfish. Lofty goals must have honor, optimism, passion, and they got to be enjoyable or we'll fail to reach them. Romans 8:15 through 21 from the Message. This resurrection life you receive from God is not a timid, grave-tending life. It's adventurously expectant, greeting God with a childlike, "What's next, Papa?" God's Spirit touches our spirit and confirms who we really are. We know who He is, and we know who we are, Father and children. And now, and we know we're going to get what's coming to us, an unbelievable inheritance. We go through exactly what Christ goes through. If we go through the hard times with Him, then we're certainly going to go through the good times with Him. That's why I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is being more or less held back. God reins it in until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at that same moment into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful anticipation deepens. That's hope, folks. That's hope. A joyful anticipation. It's going to happen. To hope is to be adventurously expectant, as it said. We look forward to our unbelievable inheritance. You think some of that's available right now? I know it is. We just limit ourselves, which limits God. We have glorious times ahead. Glorious times. Our hope mindset is our joyful anticipation. Hope is a mother of all goal setting, and it's the only thing that'll keep us on track toward reaching our goals. In closing, what is hope? Is hope just wishful thinking? Is it a psychological band-aid or an emotional placebo to help us cope with a difficult situation or a challenging life? Hope is so much more. Quote, hope clearly sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and keeps us and helps us achieve the impossible. Author unknown. Hope is the singular, vital ingredient for all human triumph and survival. Hope is goal glue. Mankind has survived this long only because of hope. With hope, we can cope. Last verse, Romans 15:13 from the AMPC. May the God of your hope so fill you with all joy and peace in believing through the experience of your faith, that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound and be overflowing, bubbling over with hope. Amen? Amen. That's hope.